So I'm going to walk through processing the CAD data for a new year. And I have not worked with the 2019 data yet. So this video will kind of work through the entire process and we will see what sort of things we hit. So if you go to the Hayes County Appraisal District site, at least currently there's a data downloads link right here. And the file that we want to be working with are the certified property data exports. And I want to process the 2019 data, so I'm going to download this and unzip it. So a little bit of background. I have created the file to process this data working in R or RStudio, and it's an R Markdown file or a notebook. So it kind of combines explanatory text with code, and the goal is that this is the file that I use to process the 2018 data, and the goal is that we shouldn't need to change very much at all to process the 2019 data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this file and make a new folder for 2019, and this file will go in that folder. And I just want to check and make sure that that's working. So RStudio is free. You need to install R and RStudio. And when we're working in these notebooks, we're going to be working entirely in this folder. So if I'm looking at this file, I'm going to go ahead and change some numbers really quick. 2019. This line says whether we want to save the like all of the computations and calculations and data and everything that we've created, so that we don't run it again. I'll talk a little bit about it in a minute, but I'm going to set that to false right now so that we're not saving anything. This just explains what we're doing, and I'm going to go ahead and update this. So for 2019, the files are archived. Here I'll talk about archiving files probably in another video because that touches on the website. Alright, so here's the most important part is we need three files. We need the land file, the properties file, and the owners file. So if we look at our downloads here, we need the land file, and if I unzip this, I get this text file. So I want to do two things. I want to move it to my folder where I'm going to use it, and I want to copy that, and here is the land file. Yeah, there's the land file, and I'll go ahead and rename it 2019 actually. Okay, so 2019. Okay, so now that's the land file, and I also need the property file. Rename it. Copy that. These are kind of confusing because they don't tell you, exactly what it is. It's just a number, so you just have to be a little careful. And then I need my owner's file. Copy that. Bring it over here. Rename it. Copy the file name. Owners. Alright. So we're doing 2019. From this point on, I think that it should all run fairly well. So the way that these R notebooks work is that the gray chunks are code that's going to be run, and you can hit this green play button right here to run this chunk, okay, of code. So if I run this, I see green, it ran. That doesn't really, this line doesn't really do anything at this point. But I can come through here and I can run this chunk, and you can see that it saved out my names run this chunk, and then here's where we're going to read in the files. So let's make sure that this goes well. All right, I saw green. I see these are my like my data objects over here, and I'm not really going to explain too much in this video about what's going on. I wouldn't worry about things like this unless you hit errors. This is just kind of data stuff that maybe wasn't formatted quite properly in the file, but I wouldn't worry about it unless you need to. For this time, I'm going to run these one at a time because I want to see if any errors happen. You can run them all at the same time. At this point, we get into some unique cases where like we need to change specific properties. The hope is that these work the same every year, so that once we've fixed it, we just run the same code to fix it again. We'll see. If you get confused and run these again, it shouldn't really matter. Like I can't remember if I ran this one. I'm pretty sure I did run this one. And I'm just going to kind of go through here, and what I'm looking for is to make sure I don't see any errors over here, make sure it doesn't spit anything out, and I'm not really going to be able to tell too much at this point until we get to the bottom. So I'm running, I'm going to reduce my columns, filter it for 78666. And okay, so this is a line that we need to talk about. So geocoding means I'm going to take the addresses and I'm going to get the latitude and longitude for the property. We do this using Google. This is my Daniel's developer key. Right now, this is working fine. I haven't hit any issues. We're not geocoding a ton of addresses. We're just going to keep doing it. But as you'll see when I run this, this is a step that's going to take a little bit of time. Okay, so this red stop button right here is telling me that it's working. If I look at my console, yep, you can see that it's going through all of our addresses right now and getting the latitude and longitude. Remember at the very top there was that cache bit right here, cache false. If I set this to cache true, this is the reason that I might want to do that in order to avoid running this over and over again. But hopefully everything just works and we don't really need to worry about that. Trying to kind of keep things a little bit simple at this point. All right, so that finished running. It took just a couple minutes. One thing you'll see, we are having trouble geocoding this Sadler address. I haven't taken the time to really look into why that is, but I will be working on a quick fix for this one, and I'll put a note in the file, so it shouldn't be an issue going forward. All right, so I ran this. I'm going to run this. Hopefully everything works good. And I'm just kind of keeping on going down. Again, you really shouldn't need to read any of this unless there's a problem or unless you're trying to make changes to the way that we're doing things. Okay, that all looks good. This step is going to export our files. So we're almost done there. And then we're also exporting just a list of all the addresses that properties are at. We'll use those in a different step. And so if we go back and look here, we've now got a CSV file of our property export, which is what we want. And I can do a quick check. This has 137 rows. That's about what I would expect. At this point, I would send this over to someone who really knows what they're looking at, or I would really comb it myself and do a gut check, do like a person check to think, does this all make sense? But that looks good to me from just from my perspective. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to set this to true, meaning I don't want to rerun any code that I don't have to, basically. And these R Markdown notebooks are really nice because what I can do is I can do knit here, and what that's going to do is output a PDF of this, and I'm pretty sure that it's not going to try to run everything again. Let's see. But the goal is that we take that PDF and we use it as documentation of what we just did, so that every year we have this file that shows us exactly how we ran everything. And that's taking longer than I expected it to. Let's see. All right, so do we have a PDF? So we have a PDF now, and I'm going to open this. And as you see, it's got all my notes, and it also has all the code we ran and all the results. And what I want to look at is this report that I've got at the bottom. And this is hopefully going to flag things for us. So it's saying that, let's see, we've got 136 properties, 127 unique properties. Some of this I need to look at again, but what I'm looking at mainly is, are there properties without addresses? No, that's good. Are there properties without coordinates? It says there's one. That's probably that one, that Sadler address that I need to look at. And then this one, check on combined properties that might have multiple owners. That says true. So this one I'm going to look at really quick and then come back and report on this. All right, so I've been kind of behind the scenes working on a couple problems we ran into. The main one is that when we exported that PDF, we've got our checks down here. This looks good. All my properties have an address. All my properties have coordinates. I wrote a little fix code to take care of the one that was a problem there. So they're all geocoding now correctly. This one, though, we need to watch out for. So check on combined properties that might have multiple owners, and what that means is that we had a property at the same address that has different owners. So if we go over here and look at the owners, we can see that the owner name is different here. And usually if we had the same owner there and a different value, right here, the market value, what we would do is combine them, because we would assume that that property had multiple listings for some reason, but it's one property, it's owned by the same person. The ownership percent can still be 100, so we would just combine these and merge them, and that happens automatically when you run the script. This one, I've done a little bit of digging. It looks like one of these addresses is wrong, so I'm just going to kind of table it for now. It's the sort of thing you'd want to check, but as far as running this script, it's a little outside the scope of what I'm talking about here. So at this point, what you have is a good CSV file named with the date that you ran it. So as if you run it multiple times, you'll be able to tell what the latest one is. You get your PDF. This gets overwritten every time, but that's just for our records. And what I'll do in another video is talk about merging this with, for example, police blotter data for importing into the database, as well as other videos on how to import into the web database, etc.